Please use your discretion before we start. The following information was taken from insider correspondence connected to the Diddy investigation, federal records, and private affidavits. Although it was never approved for public consumption, this story is now available. Day 28 in the courtroom. Shortly before the afternoon break, a white envelope was handed over. The media was not informed. Along the tab, the initials J.L.L. were printed in all caps. Jennifer Lopez provided a 6-page, 2-exhibit sworn affidavit with no legal representation in court. A voluntary declaration of suppressed affiliation was noted on the filing. Citing historical patterns pertinent to the Cassie investigation, the judge granted it under protective motion. Redacted names were not used. Her statement starts with a single line and no preface or greeting. No one ever asked me to come upstairs. The stairs were to be built by me. In the summer of 2005, it began. I had just launched a fragrance line and wrapped up filming a movie. The company was expanding, but I was craving something smaller, something honest. That's why I started the movement, a summer dance intensive for underrepresented girls in Los Angeles. No branding, no partnerships, no men in the room. I funded it personally, leased the studio through a third party, and handpicked the girls from open call auditions. No agents, no managers, just raw energy. It wasn't about performance, it was about presence. I wanted them to know the difference. By week 2, it was everything I hoped it would be. Sweaty, emotional, focused. I was showing up 3 times a week. No glam team, no entourage, just me and the music. And then the attention started. My creative director came to me after a session and said, "There's a label interested in sponsoring the program. Big money, big press." I didn't even ask who. No, I said flat immediate. I didn't need their check. I didn't want their eyes. But the next day, a package showed up at my house. No name, no return label. Inside was a printed proposal, clean and corporate. At the top, it read, "Proposal for sponsorship, the movement, Diddy Combs Enterprises." And at the bottom, "Fulling for the Wardrobe by Sean John Press. Placements with Vibe Essence." But it wasn't those details that bothered me. It was the phrasing talent development, long-term mentorship opportunities, and observational access to all intensives and showcases. I read that sentence 3 times, then a 4th. They didn't want to partner. They wanted proximity. They didn't want to help the girls. They wanted to watch them. It read like support, but it felt like surveillance. So I did what I knew I had to do. I said no. Not maybe, not circle back, just no. And that's when the silence around me started shifting. I built the movement to be a sanctuary, not a PR stunt, not a content machine. Just a place where girls could train, sweat, and be seen for who they were becoming, not who the world wanted them to be. We had 25 dancers in the program that summer. Most of them came from public schools, community centers, and second chance programs. A few had never even been in a professional studio before, and they were incredible. These girls didn't move like they were being watched. They moved like they were finally being allowed. No stylists, no filters, phones locked away in cubbies. The minute they walked in, it was sacred. But I should have known. It couldn't stay that way forever. By the 3rd week, the whispers started, and they weren't coming from inside the room. They were coming from outside. My assistant noticed it first. A car parked across the street. Same model, same time, 3 days in a row. Then a random stylist, someone I'd never worked with, showed up claiming to be sent by a friend to offer wardrobe for the girls' final showcase. When we told her there wasn't one scheduled, she just smiled and said, "Oh, he told me that might change." I didn't like the way she said he. Then, a scout, definitely label affiliated, tried to walk in through the back door during a water break and told the studio manager he was there to observe future talent. We shut it down. No visitors, no observers, no outside access. If you weren't there on day 1, you weren't getting in. Period. But the strangest part was the girls started showing up on casting lists. One of them, a 17-year-old from Phoenix, got flagged in a casting grid for a commercial campaign she'd never auditioned for. Another got approached outside the studio by someone who said he'd seen her move before, only she hadn't performed anywhere else except in my camp. That's when it hit me. They were already watching. They didn't need a formal invitation. They didn't even need cameras. They just needed access, any access, and I was the door. That's what I couldn't unsee. That's what I couldn't forget. So, I did the only thing I could. I locked it. A few days after I started shutting people out, the offer came officially this time, polished on letterhead. It was from Gomez Enterprises. I remember holding the packet in my hands thinking, they really think I'm going to say yes now. The salutation was formal. Dear Miss Lopez and the movement leadership team. Cute. There was no team. There was just me and the girls. The first 2 paragraphs were all praise, a revolutionary step toward reimagining mentorship for young women, an inspirational platform we believe deserves expanded visibility and resources. Then came the deal. Full funding, wardrobe through Sean John, press coverage with Vibe and Essence, mentorship liaison available for the girls, and this line buried in the middle of paragraph 3. We believe this platform may surface early-stage talent suitable for long-term mentorship relationships within the Gomez network. That was the one, the sentence that changed everything. I read it 3 times. Then I called my lawyer and asked him to read it too. He flagged 3 clauses immediately, ones I hadn't even caught yet. No requirement of participant representation to accept offer. Observational presence need not be disclosed to participants. Combs-affiliated personnel may attend workshops at the discretion of the sponsoring entity. I said, excuse me, that wasn't a proposal. That was a pipeline. And they wanted me to pave it. They weren't asking to support these girls. They were asking me to help select them, label them, and deliver them. That's when I realized I wasn't being offered a partnership. I was being offered a disguise. Their presence was supposed to come wrapped in empowerment. Their access is hidden in my credibility. I didn't read the rest. Didn't need to. I called it what it was. Predatory professionalism. I said no. Again, louder this time. That same afternoon, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. We thought you were about legacy. I didn't reply. That night, something slipped under my front door. Plain white paper, 1 line, typed in courier font. Every door you lock means someone else opens it first. No name, no signature. I kept the paper, folded it once, filed it in the back of a locked cabinet, and I never opened that camp again. 4 days after I turned down the official sponsorship proposal from Gomez Enterprises, I got a call from someone I hadn't spoken to in over a year. He wasn't my manager, wasn't on payroll, and wasn't even technically in my circle, but he was around. You know, those industry people who don't belong to anyone, but seem to float between the cracks. Not on the invite list, but always in the room. That was him. He used to work in ADR and ran talent development for a label that doesn't exist anymore, not publicly anyway. The call was short. He didn't bother with small talk. He said, look, forget the letter. That was optics. Then the camp doesn't need funding. It needs access. Let him watch. That's when I felt it. My stomach dropped because now I knew exactly who he was. I asked anyway, just to make him say it. Who's he? His answer. You already know who. I didn't say anything, just listened. He went on. He's not asking for contact, not asking to interfere. Just 1 visit, 1 mirror session. No names, no cameras, just energy. Then he said the part I'll never forget. He likes watching before they know what they are. I sat there frozen before they knew what they were. I asked him point blank. Are you talking about minors? He laughed, not playfully, like it was a stupid question. It's not about age. It's about silence. The best ones are quiet. They don't ask questions. They just want to be seen. I hung up, Not in anger, not with tears, just with clarity. That was the moment the subtext turned into text. The mask came off. No more PR spin. No more proposals wrapped in mentorship language. This wasn't about lifting girls up. It was about watching them while they were still reaching. The next morning, my assistant found something wedged under the windshield of my car. White envelope, courier font, one word, inventory. Inside was a sheet of paper with a list of first names. Some I knew, some I didn't. All girls from my program. Next to each name, typed in red. In progress, ready, muted. There was no note, no signature, no explanation. But I understood exactly what I was looking at. That wasn't a guest list. That was a readiness report. Someone had been watching them already, and I had let them in. I shut the entire camp down. That afternoon, no warning, no final showcase, no graduation ceremony. I refunded the remaining budget and told the staff the movement wouldn't return the following summer because I knew if I kept it open one more week, I wouldn't be able to protect all of them. I didn't post about closing the camp. No farewell message, no statement. I didn't want it to become a moment. I wanted it to disappear. But in this business, silence makes noise. Within a week of shutting down the movement, my phone started ringing, but not with opportunities. First, a fragrance campaign I'd been developing for over a year. Done. The call came in soft. The rollouts are being postponed due to scheduling conflicts, except I didn't have any. Then, a talk show appearance I'd already confirmed was canceled. No reschedule, no explanation. And then a deal I was excited about. A youth dancewear collaboration featuring designs inspired by the girls in my camp just vanished. Paperwork revoked, emails unanswered. No official reasons, just gone. It wasn't punishment. I realized it was subtraction, silent removal. No drama, just less. The next hit came from someone closer. My choreographer, someone who'd been with me since In Living Color. He stopped calling and stopped showing up. No fight, no falling out. He just faded out. Months later, someone told me he'd signed an NDA with a Combs-affiliated brand group. That was the last time his name showed up on a contract with mine. Then came the envelope. It was sitting on the piano bench in my home studio. My assistant swore no one delivered it. No name, no seal, just one folded page, blank. But when I turned it over and held it up to the light, I could see faint impressions like someone had written on it, and then erased the message. One sentence stood out. "You don't have to speak to be loud." I didn't report it. I didn't bring it up to my team. I wasn't scared. I was disappointed. Disappointed in how predictable it all was. In my journal that week, I wrote, I didn't say his name. I didn't leak a story. I didn't go to the press. And somehow, they still heard me. 17 years after I closed the movement, I opened an email I didn't know existed. It had been buried in an old inbox, a junk folder from a contact account I hadn't touched in years. The kind assistants filter and forget. No stars, no alerts. The subject line was just 5 words. You did the right thing. The date is July 21st, 2005. Time, 2:07 a.m. No sender name, no signature. I opened it slowly, like it might still hurt. This is what it said. You probably don't remember me. I worked on the back end of the sponsorship proposal. Not directly under him, but close enough to know how it works. I wasn't supposed to see the roster, but I did. After you shut the camp down, I got looped into a different project, different name, different city, same goal. 3 girls from your program still got invites. One said yes, one said no, and one never replied. The one who said yes, she's not dancing anymore. I must have stared at that screen for a full 5 minutes. No blinking, no tears, just a stillness that felt louder than anything I'd heard in years. That was the first and only time I cried over the program. Not because I felt guilty, but because I finally understood. I didn't stop it. I just made it harder for them to reach through me. That was all I'd done. I forwarded the email to my lawyer, and we traced the metadata. It came from a now-defunct address linked to a Courtroom's Enterprises consultant, a name that would later show up in Exhibit 22D of the Cassie case. That consultant is gone. No social presence, no business listings, no trace in industry directories since 2009. In the margin of my statement, I added a note handwritten just for the court. I thought saying no would be enough. I thought closing the door would lock it. I forgot how many other ways they know how to enter. I didn't plan to testify. There was no legal pressure, no subpoena, and no phone call from a victim's lawyer. This wasn't about being dragged into someone else's trauma. This was about finally stepping out of my own silence. I wrote my statement by hand. 6 pages, no edits, no attorney sitting over my shoulder. I walked it to my lawyer's office myself, folded in a manila envelope labeled 2005 rejection packet. Inside, I included everything. The original Courtroom's Enterprises sponsorship proposal, the anonymous July 2005 email, a printed list of the movement girls I believed were approached after the camp ended, and a letter I wrote that summer but never sent. It was addressed to whom it may concern. Please find your intentions returned, unread. That letter had stayed buried for years, unfolded and unsigned. I didn't think anyone would ever need it. Turns out the court did. They logged my submission as Exhibit 54A4, filed it under pattern documentation, and witnessed it with adjacent proximity to the event pipeline. I didn't even know what that meant. I just knew my silence was no longer protecting anyone, not even me. My official statement closed with this. I did not attend any upstairs rituals. I was not invited to Malibu. I did not witness the things these other women survived. But I was asked to be a doorway, not for power, not for fame, but for girls. Girls who trusted me. Girls who thought I was the final stop before success. Girls who didn't realize I was being asked to stand aside. Then I paused, took a breath, and wrote the final words without hesitation. I didn't stop them, but I didn't help them either. And now, I want my silence off the record.